Present.
Trustee Riley,
Here?
trustee Alexander. I'm sorry.
Yes, here.
Okay. Trustee Cates,
Here.
trustee Kane,
Here.
trustee Martin,
Here.
trustee Kemmler,
He says he's here
oh, he
on the
says,
chat.
okay. Let me see, is Elise here? Elise Baldacci? No. And trustee Worth, are you here? Okay, that's everyone.
Okay. So I would remind participants to please keep their microphones muted when they're not speaking. And the first item on the agenda is a student representative discussion. And Jeff, do you want to introduce that, please?
I will do that by happily introducing our newest student representative, who I just learned a few minutes ago was joining the meeting today. So, Michelle, not to put you on the spot, but welcome to our new graduate student representative from the University of Southern Maine, Michelle Dion, who so far has the no pressure distinction of being the only student rep on the screen that I can see. So there is nothing performative required of you during this meeting, Michelle, but we do want to introduce you. And of course, either you or President Edmondson or both are welcome to say a word if you'd like. We're happy to have you with us and want to welcome you to this group.
Well, I want to add my welcome, Michelle, and thanks to you for joining this group and for being part of the Board of Trustees as a student representative. But I'll let you go on and introduce yourself and share what you would like for this group to know. But welcome and thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here. I don't know what to tell you. I live in Auburn and I am working on my second master's degree at USM. I'm a student in counseling. My first master's is in education. I have a background in research. And I'm just excited to participate in the community and to help make sure that what the students want and need is represented. That said, I don't have any issues to bring today. I was in a group chat with some of the other student reps around the UMS system, and I don't know that we had any issues to bring forward today. Nice to meet you all.
Okay,
Michelle, thank you. Beth let me know that Isabella Bouchard is with us as well today. So Isabella, welcome to you. Michelle, you may or may not know yet, Heather Ball, who's my colleague on this screen, we normally meet with the student representatives in advance of each committee meeting and in advance of each board meeting to identify any topics that the students would like to share with the trustees. The June meeting historically is the toughest one to catch both students and faculty reps. They're often traveling or have other engagements during the summer, but again, welcome and happy to have you with us.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how it works yet, but happy to be here.
Okay. And again, welcome. And the faculty rep discussion, Jeff?
I see Professor Leduc and I saw Professor Mitchell earlier on my screen. There he is. I always feel better, Clyde, when you're not sitting beneath those giant heavy shelves of books. It's just better for liability reasons to have you in an open space like this. So welcome to both of you. And of course, any topics of discussion that you have to share with us today, we welcome your thoughts.
Jeff, I'm going to jump in and just make a quick comment. I wanted to thank Ryan for the workshop that he did at UMF last week on AI. It kind of fits in with the conversation we were having before the meeting started. I think this is the first time I've been excited about changes in higher education in a long time. I think there are incredible opportunities for us to improve what we're doing. That said, maybe 10 years down the line or sooner, I might be redundant, but for now, it's very exciting. So I hope that we can kind of take the momentum and Ryan's leadership and certainly do some quite amazing things. So thank you, Ryan.
David, thank you. Could I just put in a pitch for Ryan? I know you all know the work he's doing on AI, and I hear about it every Friday in our meetings and see examples of that. But for those of you who don't have the time to take his full course, just put in a plug here for his luncheon courses that he's going to be giving starting in July. They're 90 minutes each from like 11:30 to 1. If you go to the main center website, you can see them. They're $25 a piece, and I don't know, maybe there's a discount for UMS folks, but I guarantee you, if you take them, you're going to learn a lot, because just on Friday mornings I have from him. So just you might check that out. Thanks.
Thank you all for the great plugs.
Thank you. Is there any other faculty representative wants to make a comment? I see Dr. Staples has joined us.
I'm sorry, a bit late on signing in here. I don't have anything else to add to this. The discussion I picked up on right now was about AI. The only thing I have to say about that is that it's here. It's something that's part of what we're doing in higher education and in the economy. And I still think we're figuring it out. I've talked to Ryan a few times, and I'm very excited about where things are going with that. The only thing I'll add to that as well, and I think I've probably said this to Ryan before, and other people who are concerned about using AI in higher education, is that what we need to focus on for students and other folks that are using it is the old saying by Kittering, I guess it was, that a question well stated is half answered. And so when you're using AI, really working on the question gets back to the basics of critical thinking and stuff like that. And I think that that's where we really need to begin to focus as we're introducing AI into the university experience for our students. So that's all I have to add to that.
Thanks. Lisa, do you have any comments for the group?
No, I think I'm all set. I'll just say we enjoyed having you at UMPI for the last meeting. Oh, it looks like I'm frozen. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, you're on.
Okay. I'm having problems with Zoom this morning. Anyways, we enjoyed having you at UMPI for the last meeting, and I don't think I have anything specific for us this morning, so we can move along. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else on the faculty that we've missed? Professor Main, do you have anything to say? No? Okay. If there's no other faculty discussion, let's move to tab 3. And that's an overview of the 90 credit hour applied bachelor's degree program from Jeff.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon. This was Trustee McMahon's good idea, and I'm happy that he suggested it. Just a concise review of where we've been and where we are as of today, and in each category of activity leading up to the sharing of proposals for trustees' consideration at today's meeting. Initial exploration of the subject began in April of 2024. The Chancellor and Vice Chancellor Dorsey and Heather Ball, our Director of Student Success and Transfer Initiatives, attended a meeting sponsored by Merrimack College, which is, as many of you know, is part of a consortium that's been working on this for a number of years. Following that meeting, I had a series of discussions with the provosts over the spring and summer of 2024, just discussing initial ideas and concepts. I had 2 discussions with faculty senates, only those senates who initiated the topic, who brought it up to me, not me bringing it up to them, in the fall of 2024, along with the Faculty Governance Council, some smaller groups, some professional staff groups, and individual faculty who by that point were all asking about it. We were pleased to share information and answer questions from the board in September, again in November, and again in January, at which point the board shared its verbal support for a pilot cohort of programs focused exclusively on adult degree completers. Following the January meeting where the verbal support was expressed, the Chancellor sent a note system-wide to faculty and professional staff announcing that we'd be working on this pilot in the spring semester. With respect to student success considerations, I'll say again, although I'm sure trustees are maybe weary of hearing it at this point, we have in every way followed our established UMS curricular processes and protocols, including all faculty level shared governance protocols at the faculty curricular level, along with the NETCHI guidance supplied for schools interested in developing these programs. Unrelatedly, but very happily, we have spent 2 years, thanks to the Chancellor and Ryan Lowe's support, funding working with the presidents and their staffs, infrastructure, advising support, web support, and other resources for adult degree completers. So the very population we've been building up infrastructure to support is the population that the board identified as appropriate for this pilot. So the house was built in advance of the development of these programs, and we're happy to share that fact. We also, in my office, and by my office, I mean Heather Ball and Jamie Ballinger as well, have been consistently hitting the internet, AI resources, and published resources of various stripes to collect as much information as possible about 90 credit programs that are already up and running throughout the region and the country, and also those that are in development. Everything from very, very, very early responses from students to these programs to faculty perception of these programs. And we are continuously amassing more information about what's happening so we can pursue best practices throughout this initiative. With respect to faculty engagement, again, the Chancellor sent his note in January. And as part of that note, he promised and I promised, and I kept that promise in speaking with every one of our faculty senates and assemblies in the spring semester about where we were with 90 credit programs. I also spoke with the Faculty Governance Council, the faculty board representatives, individual Zoom meetings with faculty and phone calls with faculty. There was quite a bit of interest, both from those who are involved in the pilot at some level, but those who would like to be involved if we move forward with a future cohort at some point of these programs. With respect to board engagement, trustees know I've shared an update at each ASA meeting and full board meeting since January. Spoken with a few trustees individually as well who've had questions about how things were going. Very positive conversations from beginning to end. As far as program development, review, and campus level approval, following the January board meeting, again, we worked with the presidents and primarily with the provost to identify 5 programs for our pilot cohort at a total of 4 of our universities. Faculty worked with their colleagues on their campuses to develop the programs. And between mid-February and mid-April, each of the 5 programs in the pilot cohort were approved at the university level. I really need to thank all of those faculty, their school directors, their deans, their provosts, their faculty board representatives, their faculty senate and assembly presidents, all of whom were involved in some way in shepherding the programs through the campus level approval process. The programs appeared at CEOC, which is our provost level group, at the end of April, and then on to you today, again, for your consideration. With respect to the timeline of remaining steps, we received, and I thank Carolyn Dorsey for her help with this, a formal memo from Commissioner Macon in the Department of Education in April, affirming her office's support for this pilot program and the acceptance of this pilot program for the purposes for which we are pursuing. If the trustees support the 5 programs that they'll hear about in a few minutes in today's meeting, they will go forward for consideration at the July board meeting. Thanks to the Chancellor, we have reserved a slot at the November meeting of the NETCHI Commission. We did that in February, end of January, and if we waited any later, we would not have made it. There is a really significant number of schools throughout our region who are now pursuing these programs and seeking audience with our accreditor. So in advance of that meeting, we, which in this case means me, but with help from many people, owe a report to NETCHI in mid-October. It's called a substantive change report, coming through what's called their policy for innovation, where we formally put forward approved programs, if the board approves those programs, so that we can get on before the commission in November and make our case for delivery of this pilot. most likely beginning in summer or fall of 2026. And then finally, at the recommendation of 2 trustees at the last ASA meeting, I'm happy to say the provost and I have developed a very preliminary draft of an evaluation plan. This is separate from the program assessment plans that you see in the proposals that came forward today. The 2 trustees asked for a broader look down the road. So assuming these programs are developed and we implement them, what are we going to account for a couple of years from now with respect to retention, time to degree, initial employment within 6 months of graduation, student satisfaction, employer satisfaction, what does the marketplace look like, all of those things. So with help from the provost, we have, again, a preliminary sketch of that plan, which we would, of course, fill out and make rigorous if the programs are approved and we get to the point where we are delivering programs to students and need to be accounting for the next step, which is matriculation through the programs, entry into the workforce. So Trustee McMahon, that's a summary of where we started and where we are as of today with, I think, most of what can be accounted for, accounted for.
Okay. Trustee Alexander.
Thank you very much. I just thought there were some generic issues that I would like to bring to the committee's attention that might require changes in the actual motion that is before us today. I fully support the programs. I'm prepared to support the programs. The design of them is not something that I have a substantive concern about, but there are a couple issues that I think lack the procedural and content-related criteria that in the future we need to be looking back on and relying on as we go through the evaluation process. So if I might, what I'd like to do is suggest the generic issues, and perhaps there's a discussion that would result in a consensus on how to handle these. And then each of the programs can be presented as you see fit in this meeting. Is that an appropriate process, Chair?
I think it is, but I think we've got to remember that the board's role is one of governance and not management. And basically, we have to be taking a higher level look at this. And I think it's also true, at least from my perspective, that we expect consistency amongst the programs, but we're not necessarily expecting uniformity. That there are different sizes of groups planned for these programs, from the Your Pace programs, which are very large cohorts, to some of the smaller cohorts. That, the development process that they've been through has been extremely rigorous. I mean, you listen to Jeff, and this is faculty senates, the system leadership, campus leadership, the union input. And so there's a lot of people having input here. And they've also been through a shared governance review. And that, of course, is one of our fundamental principles when we're dealing with academic programs. So although I'm happy to have a discussion, I think we just got to bear in mind what our role is in these things. And Trish, you got your hand up?
Well, okay.
You're on mute, Trish.
No, I have this new computer that's challenging, sorry. I think I share some of Barbara's concerns, and I know this is 11th hour, Jeff, in some regards, but I think the key is to take, David, you're right, from a fiduciary perspective and the board's role. We authorized, I think, a pilot program that will be evaluated in a limited number of programs that are clearly identified for adult degree completers. And I think the definitional issues remain challenging. I worry that some of these proposals, that each of them, UMA talks about students. I think we've got to be very clear that this is a very focused initiative on adults returning to their educations, particularly given that some of the programs we're reviewing today, liberal studies and others, are also offered as a 120-hour degree. I want to make sure as a board that we're protected, that we're quite clear that an 18-year-old is an adult, that we're quite clear that these are pilot programs designed for a specific, at least for this period, until we get the evaluation or assessment done. Pilot programs for adult degree completers, which I think is not a superb definition, but I think each of the resolutions would be strengthened by something, a phrase about that these are 90-hour pilot programs with enrollment restricted to adult degree completers. And I think that would give me some comfort in proceeding. I think we're in important territory. We want to support all the work that's gone on. But I think as a board, we need to protect ourselves and make sure that we're clear about our expectations until that, the pilot is completed.
And I haven't had a chance to even identify the generic issues that I think deserve attention from the committee. And I agree with Chair McMahon. These are issues, in my opinion, rise to the level of the board's concern. They do not rise to the level of the exact development of the program, the details, the nature of the curriculum, or anything else of that nature. So there are a couple issues. First, the resolution does not include the word pilot, as Chair Riley pointed out. Second, within these documents, there are various definitions or lack thereof of who exactly is subjected to enrollment and eligibility for the programs. I am well aware of the intent. I support the intent. We all do. And I'm aware of a lengthy definition of adult degree completers that Vice Chancellor St. John presented to the board informally at our March meeting. And I agree with that definition. Unfortunately, these documents do not all contain that exact definition. And that is one issue. The other is a number of them include their own version of evaluation. And I appreciate that they may individually want to evaluate. But I think our role as a board is to make clear that these programs will be subjected to a unified evaluation plan, which we don't yet have. And I appreciate the fact that we don't yet have it. So those are the three issues that I think our motion needs to address, or the content of the documents before us need to address. I honestly am not anticipating that there's any dispute about these three things being important to our role as a board. We've all talked about them. We've all had an informal consensus about them, but they are not reflected in these documents. And that is a matter of process and record keeping that I'm having trouble with. So what I was trying to do was come up with changes to the motion that would, for example, introduce the word pilot to all of them. Second of all, would make reference to an Appendix A, which would be attached to all of the proposals that would be the document that Chancellor or Vice Chancellor St. John provided to the board in March, which is a one-page description of the criteria for entrance into these programs. And the third would be to mention in the motion that they would be evaluated pursuant to a system-wide evaluation plan to be presented to the board at a future date. So those are the kinds of things that I'm interested in talking about, and they don't really adversely impact the design of the program or the process by which they came to us, which I do not have a problem with at all.
Thank you. Jeff, Jefferson John, comments?
Sure. I don't oppose at all the idea of including language affirming that these are a pilot in the actual resolutions. On the latter 2 points, I'll say two things. We are approaching a point where we're asking for a mathematical uniformity. at the level of program development from our faculty. We're not going to get that. We shouldn't ask for that. It's not incumbent upon them to offer it to us. I would also say that there's a distinction between program assessment or program evaluation and the separate evaluation plan that I described earlier. Program assessment or program evaluation are principally the purview of our faculty in the development of programs. And then it's incumbent upon people like the provost and me to ensure oversight of the actual process so that data is being collected by professional staff and delivered back to faculty so they can use it to improve their programs and strengthen their interactions with their students and improve outcomes for their students. I am very concerned about the increasing expectation of additional information, additional documentation, additional appendices. We are reaching a point where we will lose faculty motivation to develop new programs or to participate in a pilot, which is something that's already for many faculty both a source of excitement, but also it's a challenge that not all their colleagues want them to be going down a road in a new or innovative area. And in some cases, it is a challenge among their own peers to bring something like this forward. So I will speak to that. As for the third part, the safeguards document that I developed and shared, to Trustee Alexander's point, developed and shared with the trustees in detail in March, is once again a management practice that it's my responsibility, along with the enrollment managers, admissions directors, Jamie Ballinger in my office, the provosts and others, to ensure is applied. But we don't apply management practices to programs that haven't been approved yet. So we have here a request for a guarantee of something that won't be enforced until the programs are in fact in existence. All of the provosts already know, and the ones on the screen can tell you, and all of the enrollment managers already know, and they could tell you as well, that if the board approves these pilot programs, and if NETCHI approves our delivery of these programs, the explicit definition of adult degree completer and all of the safeguards delineated in that document will be fully enforced from day one. We will not have students who are not eligible according to our definition enrolling in these programs. That's out of respect for me, for the trustees and their wishes, but also it's my responsibility, again, it's as a management practice to make that happen. So those are my responses to the three pieces of feedback that have been shared. I would urge the trustees not to ask for increasing layers or levels of documentation in proposals. We are burdening faculty. We're making it difficult for provosts to do their jobs, and it's a disincentive to innovate within our system. Thank you.
Lisa?
So I just wanted to clarify. I agree with Jeff that it is for discipline-specific programming faculty to do evaluations of their programs. My understanding, though, from what Trustee Alexander said, was I thought she was referring to an evaluation that's a bit more meta of 90-degree completion, right? Not necessarily curricular, like more on the ground evaluation. I would see that those two things could happen differently. So it may not be evaluation of each of these programs, but it would be a system-led evaluation of how is this 90-degree, how are these 90-degree programs going? But if I would like to hear the clarification from Trustee Alexander, if that's what you referred to. If she's referring to the actual evaluation on the ground of the program and the curriculum and the outcomes, I agree that's not something for the board to get their fingers into. But I do see that the board might or the system might want a more, not 10,000 foot, let's say 2,500 foot view of how this new 90-degree, how these new 90-degree programs are working.
Thank you. That's exactly what I understood the board's role to be. These are labeled pilot programs for a reason. We want to see at the board level how they are working and what impact they've had. And that would require the system office to develop, as described, they are going to do a set of criteria and data gathering, which would allow a report to us about how this entire set of pilots have worked. and whether they should be something other than pilots in the future. So I defer to each university to do whatever evaluation they'd like to do. But I do think there needs to be an obligation to support or participate in as needed in the system-wide evaluation that the board clearly intended to have done at some point here. Thank you.
Rich?
Yeah, I don't want to belabor this, but I think it is important. And Jeff, I hear your frustration. I apologize that I only read the resolution this morning and reading the materials, but it seems to me that assuming that everything's in NETU, which of course it will be, puts us in exactly the position you don't want us to be in the management position. That's how you do business, and that's not our job. But our job is to say that this is for adult learners, because I'm very worried about what happens if a bunch of first-year students say, if they can do 90-degree, why can't I? And maybe that's a good thing to do, but not until we complete the pilot. So I think putting the definition adult degree completer, maybe not with reference to it, but just some definition in the resolution, addresses the board's concern. And to the point, I think pilot program, implicit in a pilot program is that it will be evaluated, and maybe add something about with reports back to the ASA committee or the board, and just so that we keep in our lane, but also are assured that we're setting a policy that is consistent with what we anticipated.
So in the interest of trying to move this forward, I hear consensus about incorporating the word pilots, which I don't see any objection from Jeff, and I see Carolyn nodding her head on that. Is there some middle ground on the other two, Jeff?
I think so. Again, I'm fully supportive of the evaluation plan external to the proposals themselves. My concern is that we not invite a uniformity of planned program assessment within the proposals, because those will differ campus by campus based on faculty expertise and local preferences about how to conduct assessment. And I would also simply ask that we not ask for any more in the proposals themselves. I think they stand well on their own feet, and they've been rigorously developed through multiple levels of campus and system review. So I'm supportive of what Chair Riley just shared. Yeah,
I don't think I couldn't vote for this without some reference to adult degree completers, because I think the board is at some risk if we don't clarify what this is.
So what if it's a combination with the pilot? What if it's, and I don't have the resolution in front of me, but what if it's an adult learner focused pilot? Like we just have the adult degree, something with the
18-year-olds or adults. I want to be clear that this is for returning people who've been out, and I know there's not an easy definition.
Can we not use the definition adult degree completers as defined?
The problem is it's not defined anywhere, Chair. That's the problem. It was presented to us as an informal document. It has not been voted on. It does not exist in any formal definition anywhere. That was my immediate concern. And we have within these proposals various references to what I understood to be that type of eligibility. Don't get me wrong. I don't think any of these programs intend to do anything other than what our expectation is. But it is a process and documentation issue that we have here.
The definition of adult is policy. These are not programs for traditional students, and I just think that's where we need some clarity. And I don't want to belabor it, but I think that would strengthen the resolution and make it easier to vote for.
Clyde?
Chair McMahon, I tend to agree with the concern about the definition, in that the opposition on some campuses from other faculty to these programs being developed is that it would end up eroding the traditional student base. That may or may not happen like nationwide 5-10 years down the line, but I think in terms like any opposition on from faculty on different campuses, would be lessened by a strong definition of that non-traditional adult completer. I think would do a lot of good.
Roger.
Thank you. Just on this discrete issue of adult degree completer, I do recall that I think maybe you, Jeff, came up with a definition that was generally acceptable to everybody when we discussed it at a board level. If we just indicated here that these programs are for adult degree completers as defined by the board, bring that definition forward to the July meeting, we adopt that as the definition, and then there's clarity for everyone.
I'd be happy to bring that forward, Trustee Cates. The document that I shared in March that Trustee Alexander referred to was, unless I'm grossly misinterpreted, was received positively by the entire board.
Yes.
It's two-part definition of adult degree completers. We haven't codified it anywhere because we don't have existing programs yet. So part of this is cart and horse, and maybe that's a bit of the tension here. We typically don't put into place management policies for programs that don't yet exist. But of course, I'm happy to bring that forward and let the trustees ratify it as their definition of adult degree completers, if that would be helpful.
I would suggest we say as agreed upon by the Board of Trustees, because it's really not a true definition. There are federal definitions of, there are NECHI guidelines of. Can we just say as agreed upon by the Board of Trustees for this pilot program? Would that be wording for this resolution?
Carolyn, I thought your idea of non-traditional was a helpful clarification, if that non-traditional adult learners as agreed.
Well, let me just say, Chair Riley, if someone would actually look at this document, you would see it's a page-long set of criteria that cover a bunch of very obvious set of potential qualifications. So the proposal to add as agreed to by the board, as long as it's brought to us at the July meeting and we actually have a vote on it, I'm fine with that. That makes sense to me. I want a record evidence of what this definition is. I think it will help NECHI understand exactly what we're aiming at here, as opposed to looking through these 5 definitions and finding various ways in which it is not the same. That is something I just don't think we can handle. The intent is the same in all of the proposals. Don't get me wrong. But the actual wording in the documents is somehow is quite a bit different. So I like Carolyn's idea of that to solve that problem. So we add the definition of pilot. We add a reference to adult degree completers as approved by the board. And we make a reference to the development of a system-wide overall evaluation plan for the pilots. So adding those phrases to this motion solves a lot of my concerns. And it doesn't touch the individual substantive proposals that are legitimately developed at the local level and subject to our approval, I hope.
Yes, Carolyn.
I missed the very last piece of that. Was it that the system will present our evaluation of the proposals? Is that what?
No, that the programs will be subject to a system-wide assessment or evaluation of the pilots. That we are proving this subject to the development of that future system-wide evaluation and what do you want to call it? Investigation, evaluation, whatever word seems to make sense.
I think Emily has her hand up.
Go ahead, Emily.
Hi, thanks, everybody. On the last part, I think the the piece about evaluation, I think we're gonna do it no matter what. We're gonna ask how it's going. We're gonna ask for updates. Like that's literally what our job is. But I think I want to make sure that language isn't too formal, because I think when we're talking about a pilot program, we don't yet know what a consistent evaluation is going to look like. So I wonder if it's just a matter of the board talking about updates on the progress, or I just don't want to overform. We're going to do it. I'm not opposed to doing it. Right. So the question is about how to make sure we don't create some sort of new, entirely different structure when we're really talking about, we want to see how it's going. How many people are in it? Are they succeeding? Who are they? I don't know. That's my only, the rest of it's fine. I just want to make sure we're not.
So is there a middle ground here?
It's hard to see without the words. So I don't know if someone has a running document, they can read it to us. I'm happy to respond. I just think we want to make sure, I'm trying to be clever and concise at the same time off the top of my head. But it's something about, and the ASA committee will regularly review the progress and
outcomes.
Outcomes. There's a good word. Thank you, Jeff. The progress and outcomes of the 90-degree pilots.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. So that we're not we're not asking for some sort of like
formal evaluation.
To me, that is, we're not at that stage yet. But hopefully, it's very successful.
Can we cover this by just having a statement that says that 1 year after the commencement of the programs, these will be included in the annual program reviews? So it's an agenda item in the annual program review when the programs start, which is a way of evaluating at a board level, at a governance level, our way of evaluating programs campus by campus.
Right. If I could interrupt, I don't agree with that language. Let me say why. A number of us brought up the intent or the desire for an evaluation of these because they are pilots. The nature of a pilot is that you're gathering data to evaluate whether to make them permanent or to change them or to eliminate them in the future. That's the point of a pilot. And Jeff agreed that he would develop that kind of a document that would set forth what would be developed and evaluated to present to the board. And of course, to the universities and share with them and get them involved in that analysis and get their input on the analysis, of course. But it was a specific request that a number of us made to him and that he said in this meeting he was developing. So that's the kind of document I want to have referenced as coming to us for our future review.
We evaluate all of our programs, and especially our pilot programs, that way. I think the way that Emily described it, and that we do that with a pilot program with the university. So it would be that the board would be requesting, making sure that we have it on an agenda item, that we are giving you progress updates along the way, and then a formal evaluation at the end of a period of time, whether it be a year or maybe a bit longer. So they've had a year of pilot. Sure. But I would not recommend that we bring forward our evaluative tool or what it is that we do to you. We will bring you the update. We will bring you the outcomes, the progress, the outcomes as a presentation.
As long as the word evaluation is used to refer to what it is we're going to get, I'm fine with that. That's okay. But not just a report. I want an actual evaluation of the programs as pilots.
Yeah, Trustee Alexander, what you're requesting and what we do right now in the AAPR process, there's a 98% overlap between what you're describing and what David was proposing as a solution here. So I'm good for the 2%. I can assure you of that, and we will make sure you get the evaluation that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Roger.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Roger.
Sorry, I want to channel my inner Ryan Lowe here
Mhm.
because I did what he's taught me to do over the last several months, and I've asked ChatGPT for some potential language, and let me read to you what it just gave me. The board supports the launch of this pilot program and recommends a general review of its progress after 1 year. This review will be advisory in nature and distinct from the standard academic program review conducted by faculty. Its purpose is to assess implementation, engagement, and alignment with strategic goals without duplicating or superseding existing academic oversight. So I just throw in that language as a potential pathway.
I'm surprised as the chair of the FFT committee, it didn't add and financial considerations to the budget.
Oh, I didn't read on here. That's right. That's what it does say.
Exclamation point.
David, I'm not sure if you can see my hand is up. I got to work on my signage situation.
Yeah, it's hard.
Go ahead.
I think that's too complicated, Roger. It's lovely. I love ChatGPT is so eloquent. I think but it was lovely. I think the reference to the AAPR process is what I was thinking about. I mean, we're going to do that anyway. This is going to be included in that. And so I think it's to me what Jeff said. Like we can put in will be reviewed, you know, as part of AAPR. I mean, which we're going to do anyway. I'm hesitant about creating something that says a separate and distinct, right? Because I think we want to make sure we're evaluating academic programs consistently as well.
I will, if I'm allowed to say one more thing, and then I'll shut up. These are very unique programs. The board had months of discussion about whether these particular 90-degree programs, which are unique to our system, should be done and what the criteria were for how we would do them. So this is not a normal academic review. These are very unique programs. We're stepping out on a limb. A number of us had concerns. We've had those concerns mollified. But in terms of approving them and having a record of what it is we've approved and under what criteria, I think, you know, the word pilot needs to be added, a reference to a future board decision about adult degree completers definition, and the word evaluation to be submitted to the board. You know, and I don't even care about a deadline for that. I would defer to the system to develop the plan, implement the plan, and tell us when it is an appropriate time to evaluate these programs as 90-degree pilot programs, very unique to our system. So those are my three issues, and I hope we can come to a consensus on the words.
I don't know, Trish, is your hand up again, or
Yeah,
was it?
I just added into the chat possible language. I'm still unsure about what we're saying about the evaluation, so that may need some work, but that would help me vote for these. I don't know about the rest of you.
And I will add, Trustee Alexander, that a pilot program is evaluated differently than an ongoing routine program. There are just other criteria that we look at where it is a pilot.
In the interest of expediency, can somebody capture these comments? I think there's consensus around pilot. There's consensus about the adult degree completers to be approved at a future board meeting, the definition to be approved at a future board meeting, and whatever other language. Can somebody capture that so we can have an accurate resolution as we go through these 4 programs?
I believe it has been captured by the board office. I just got pinged.
Somebody could send me the motions they want me to read. It would just make life.
Could you read it out loud? That would be helpful. Thank you.
I don't have it. Let me have them send it to Beth.
Just, Beth, have you captured the discussion and could you read out an amended motion?
Yes, I will try to read an amended motion. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Arts in Applied Liberal Studies 90 credit at the University of Maine at Presque Isle as a pilot program for non-traditional adult degree completers, as will be approved by the BOT and with regular approved reviews by the Board of the Systems evaluation of the pilot.
That's fine with me.
I do not want to belabor this, but we need to take out completers, I think. Not because sometimes they're not completers, they're coming for the first time as an adult degree learner. We should just put adult degree students or adult degree learners. They're not all necessarily a completer, and I don't want to. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, yeah.
But keep non-traditional.
Yes, I think
That was going to be my question. I didn't know if non-traditional had a specific implication with NETCHI or with
Well,
No.
this is just a generic phrase because we'll have the Jeff has done all this work. It's all there, and we
it's
can
kind of redundant. It's
we can just make that what we approve at the July board meeting, and then we're done, right?
So, just so I'm absolutely clear, with the amendments that Beth read, with the amendment to the adult degree students that Carolyn suggested, is every trustee on the committee on the call comfortable with that as a motion?
Not entirely, because adult degree students are 18-year-olds. So, but it says, I think I'm okay with the as approved by the board, and then we get
by the board, yeah.
yeah, as approved by the board.
So we good with that? Okay. Jeff, you any last word on this?
I would only advise the provosts that they can be a little bit concise in their presentations now that we have an overarching framework to proceed from. So thank you, trustees, for that conversation. Thank you, David, for leading the way, and back to you.
Okay. And if somebody could email me that revised motion, it would make life easier for the record. So let's turn now to specific programs, and the first program is Bachelor of Arts, Liberal Studies, 90 credit, UMPI, and Dr. Margerson. Elena, you're on mute.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So for our proposal for the 90 credit applied bachelor's degree in liberal studies, we worked with the chairs of programs to take a look at the minors that would be encompassed by this program. Specifically, we feel that this 90 credit program will allow for that degree completion for adults, looking at interdisciplinary skills, focusing on what the BLS degree frankly does really well, and that's cultivating those critical thinking skills, communication skills, those transferable skills that are, again, interdisciplinary. We have about a dozen minors that are associated with this program proposal, and those include everything from our very popular accounting program, business program, to our educational studies. So meeting the workforce needs across multiple fields also with the BLS degree. And then also I would note that for evidence of need, we included from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the value of the broad-based degree as well with the BLS, and the value for adult degree completers in having that degree that then they can continue on to that 120 credit degree if they choose to do so. We also feel that there is great potential for this to launch in our Your Pace program, given what we've seen with enrollments in our 120 credit degree, and thinking about the students who bring in many transfer credits into the BLS program. And so you can see with our financials that we believe that this will be a popular option for students, or one that allows them that flexibility of a pathway to fully leverage their transfer credits in completing this degree. And finally, the curriculum allows for us to not modify our gen ed curriculum, obviously, in those 40 credits. Our minors remain intact, our upper level elective credits with this 90 credit degree, and then the remaining credits being electives. So I'll stop screen sharing here momentarily and see if there are any further questions.
Are there any questions? Roger. You're on mute.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My only question has to do with the title of the program. It's called here Bachelor of Arts in Applied Liberal Studies. I thought we had reached a consensus that all of these were going to be labeled, that the first word of these was going to be applied. So that it would be a applied Bachelor of Arts in whatever. And this doesn't do that, and perhaps I'm misremembering, but I thought we'd reached that consensus.
Roger, thank you. Good question. So we can't separate part of the name of the program and put it in front of the degree of the program. So applied is the first word in the name of each of these 5 pilot programs, and then the degree itself is bachelor's.
But okay, so I thought that the second part that you just described was also going to be use the word applied at the beginning so as to differentiate to employers and others the difference between this degree and something else.
So that appears at the end, the parenthetical 90 credit. So each of these is a bachelor's of applied X, and then in parentheses 90 credit. So we have 2 distinguishing marks in the name of the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, let me read the resolution that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the July 14th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Arts in Applied Liberal Studies, parens 90 credit, close parens, at the University of Maine at Presque Isle, as approved as a 90-hour pilot program with enrollment limited to adult degree learners, as to be approved by the BOT and with regular reviews by the Board of Systems evaluation of the pilot. Can I have such a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Kane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, and any discussion? Beth, could you take the roll, please?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Kemmler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is new academic program proposal, Bachelor of Arts in Applied Psychology, 90 credits, UMPI. And again, Dr. Michelson.
So for the 90 credit applied bachelor's degree in, or the applied psychology degree, excuse me, this also is with the great collaboration of our program advisor, Dr. Bill Jenkins, and really, I think, answers the call for the growing need of those able to have a degree that allows them to work in the field of counseling, of mental health, of psychology. And so in talking with Dr. Jenkins, we agreed that this degree option would allow for both that credential to be solidified for adult degree completers, and also to have that ladder, that pathway onto the 120 credit degree program and beyond from there. And particularly with mental health and care needs growing in Maine and particularly in rural areas, we feel strongly that this opens up further opportunity for workforce development and placement. This program did not or need for us to pare down anything in terms of the curriculum. This allows for us to keep our core of the major. Again, stacking this with our gen ed curriculum and with electives to reach the total 90 credits of this program. And again, this is with full support of Dr. Jenkins and the program to allow for this to be another flexible pathway that allows for adult degree completers to bring in those transfer credits and then to continue on if they so choose to do.
Thank you. Is there any questions or any discussion? Roger.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to revisit what I talked about before, because I'm still a little concerned about this, and this feels a little bit differently than the way this has been packaged, if you will, in the past. So someone, for instance, in this program, I have no problem with the program whatsoever, but it's going to say Bachelor of Arts in Applied Psychology, parentheses, 90 credit, end parentheses. But yet when a graduate of this program is being asked, what are your academic degrees? Aren't they going to say, I have a BA in arts in applied, I have a BA in applied psychology, as opposed to I have a applied Bachelor of Arts in psychology. And I know we wanted to try to keep some differentiation between a 120 BA and a 90 BA, and I'm wondering if we're doing that, if we're making that clear distinction. And Jeff, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought we had been consistently talking about all of these being called an applied Bachelor of Arts, and maybe I'm misremembering.
No, we didn't, Roger. So we talked about, I brought to the board an update once at ASA and once at a full board meeting, saying we explored briefly the possibility of a different degree type as opposed to the way we name the programs.
Right.
Developing a brand new degree type here in Maine would be a 2+ year process at a minimum, so far as we know. Whereas we already have approval from the state to deliver a variant of the already approved 120 credit bachelor's program in the form of this 90 credit bachelor's program. Armed with that, we turned our attention to, are there multiple ways we can distinguish in the student's record, in the transcript, the fact that this is a pilot program of a very specific type, very unique type, to use Trustee Alexander's words. We put applied in the front and 90 credit at the back. Nothing down the road prevents any student from saying, I have a bachelor's degree in this program, but that's true regionally and nationally. We can't control for how students beyond graduation present themselves to their employers. We're also going to see increasing interest, we believe, based on early findings in what's out there. Employers who want students with 90 credit degrees for certain fields as opposed to 120. Right. So this is going to be an adjustment for everyone, but those are the distinguishing and differentiating forms of description that we came up with to make this as clear cut as possible for our own purposes and for marketing for our students for these programs, which was initially also a big point of concern for the board. How are you going to show students when you go out in the market that these are not 120 credit programs? And these are the ways that we found to do that most effectively.
Thanks for that explanation. I had one other question, Mr. Chair, if I could.
What?
Thank you. So I'm not sure if it was this particular program or one of the others, but it talked about the requirements for how you get to 90 credit hours and how many, in particular, how many gen ed hours were required. And I just can't recall, but one of them, it seems to me, had a pretty low number of gen ed requirements. I think it was this one perhaps was 5. Well, and I'm not quarreling with that, but someone now gets this applied bachelor's degree. It's our hope that they are going to go on and get the 120-hour bachelor's degree. And my question is, someone coming from the applied program into the 120 program, bringing along with him or her only 5 gen ed requirements, credits rather, what's the gen ed requirements going to be to end up with that full 120-hour degree?
So great question. So most students won't wait until after they've completed the entire 3-year program to declare a 4th year. Most will recognize at some point in advance that they want to move into the 120 credit version. So they'll have a longer ramp to complete the remaining gen ed courses. And also, the greater percentage of courses you complete in any area in the 3-year program, a correspondingly smaller number of courses you have left to complete to round out a 4-year program. So we don't see that as being a difficulty for students. They will receive advising from day one. In fact, before they decide to enter one of our programs, because I promised the trustees we would let them know they have an off-ramp to a 120 credit program at any time. Here's what your 90 credit curriculum will look like. We'll map it out over 3 years. And here are all the points along the way where you can elect to move into 120 credits. And then thanks to our incredibly improved unified catalog, we'll be able to map for students quite specifically exactly how they do the work to get onto the completing a degree in 4 years if they decide to move into the 120 credit program.
Yeah, just one follow-up if I could. I know there are others. And so, but if somebody goes into the 90 credit hour program, assuming that's all they're going to want, and they complete that, and they can come back in 2 years and say, gee, you know what? I think I want to go for the 120. They're going to be kind of forced, it sounds like, to take almost all gen ed stuff in order to get that 120-hour degree, no?
That wouldn't be the case. Our adult degree completion advisors and other advisors for students returning are great about figuring out the mix of courses that are needed. Deb, you were shaking your head there. I don't know if you want to add something about that, but we have a whole array of resources available to help students complete credits in each area. Please, Deb.
Yeah, thank you. So mostly what's happening with this is I think you'll see in the majority of our programs, we're holding on to the majority of gen eds. At UMFK, we're only one less course in the gen eds, and the rest are the major credits for the degree. So what's being eliminated is typically the minor and electives. Okay, so quite often in the past, people would do a major and a minor. Minor could be 20 credits, 30 credits, 20 credits, and then electives. So we're still holding on to the core essence of the degree and the gen eds. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Emily, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. I was just gonna say, I think it'll be really awesome to see how people describe when they have this degree, right? Because I think that'll be, and we'll see it all across the country, because it may be that they describe it as a bachelor's, maybe they feel they have to qualify it, but to your point, Jeff, is sort of, it's really going to be about employers asking those questions, right? Like they would in an interview, or if that person decides they want a master's degree and then their transcript gets reviewed, it'll be an interesting thing to watch where these students go as part of this in the coming years, to see whether they do come back, how many of them come into the 120 programs, and how they represent themselves. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thanks. Elena?
Thank you. I think the 5 total courses is actually for the electives. There are the 40 credits of gen eds for this degree. So there's actually no fewer gen eds than there would be for the 120 credit programs. So I believe that it might be the general electives that were the 5 credits for this proposal. So just kind of wanted to mention that. And then 2 other quick things that I would also mention. This proposal is specifically for your pace. I know that I did that with the Bachelor of Liberal Studies conversation, or the applied. Just wanted to mention this for the applied psychology 90 credit degree as well. And then finally, there is language in the proposal on page 3 just for that transparency around the distinction of this degree, stating that we would have on our website and clarify to students the language of some programs, professional schools, some graduate programs, professional schools, and employers may require a traditional baccalaureate degree with at least 120 credits. This degree can serve as a stepping stone, providing a clear, structured pathway to a full 4-year bachelor's degree should you choose to continue your education. So I did just want to highlight that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, let me read the resolution. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the July 14th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Arts in Applied Psychology, parens 90 credit, close parens, at the University of Maine at Presque Isle, as approved as a 90-hour pilot program with enrollment limited to adult degree learners, as to be approved by the BOT and with regular reviews by the Board of the Systems evaluation of the pilot. May I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Emily, seconded by Barbara. Is there any further discussion? If not, please take the roll, Beth.
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Kemmler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is Bachelor of Science in Applied Public Administration, 90 credits at UMA, Joe Sakers. Welcome, Joe.
Yep, welcome and good morning, folks. So this is a 90 credit, as we have enjoyed, online program here. It's aligned, I think, with UMA's mission of ensuring that working adults get educational opportunities in alignment with workforce needs. We figured out what our workforce needs are by working with the Maine Municipal Association, and we also have received a letter from the Joint Standing Committee on State and Local Government, and thanks a lot to Sam Warren for her help with that kind of thing. This program, very similar to what Alana just mentioned, right? It's focused, right, on the core essentials of the BS in Public and Min with all the gen ed requirements. It's just more focused and more applied, hands-on. This is more for Trustee Cates, but we have had a conversation with Bill Brigio, who is a former town manager who knows about applied and public administration needs and things like that. He is an adjunct here at UMA and is going to be help us kind of mentoring our students in this program as well, to keep bringing them on, because we see through the Maine Municipal Association people who are working now in town management who need some type of credential, and now we're going to try to help shepherd them through education. I think makes better government, in my opinion. And then, I'll just close with these would fall under our normal assessment for program review cycles and all the other stuff. And I'm happy to take any questions. So thank you.
Questions for Joe? Hearing none, let me read the resolution. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the July 14th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Science in Applied Public Administration, parens 90 credit, close parens, at the University of Maine at Augusta, as approved as a 90-hour pilot program with enrollment limited to adult degree learners, as to be approved by the BOT and with regular reviews by the Board of the Systems evaluation of the pilot. May I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Beth, would you please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
Trustee Kemmler,
Yes.
the motion carries.
Thank you. And the next item is a new academic program proposal. Bachelor of Applied College Studies, 90 credit, close parens, University of Maine, Matthias, and Megan Walsh and Elena Magnuson.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. Yeah, so we have developed a 90 credit Bachelor of Applied College Studies. It's a build out of our existing 120 credit degree Bachelor in College Studies, and which we've had for many years, and it's very successful, particularly for the population that these 90 credit degrees target. So just to give you just some very quick background information on that. The students in our 100, and this is for you, Chair Riley, in our 120 credit Bachelor of College Studies program, 100% of students are 22 years or older, 31% are 30 years or older. So we're already targeting adult learners. And so the 90 credit, we don't expect any change in that for the 90 credit program should it be approved. And this is the only of the bunch, this is the only fully self-designed program. So midway through the program, the students identify a concentration themselves and of study that they work on with their faculty advisor with support from their staff advisor, and they select courses to build out a concentration. Generally speaking, those students are building a degree that matches with existing work experience. By far, the largest number of students we've had in recent years are already working in K through 12 education in Washington County and are looking for a degree to support them. So they've elected the 120 credit degree. We anticipate a similar demographic for the 90 credit degree. Again, if it's approved. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Chris?
Well, Megan, you invited it. So if your current student population are adult learners, and you pick up the 90 credit hours, what's the budget implication? Won't you lose some of the revenue that you would get from 120 hours?
To the contrary, we actually believe will increase our revenue. We do have a number of students who simply aren't able to complete the 120 credits because of other pressures, work, life, children, etc. And so we have a number of, this is actually where we see a number of students. I'm sorry, I think this is our own student, Will Kemmler's microphone needs to be muted.
Yes, I'm so sorry about that, Dr. Walsh.
It's okay, Will. So we actually have a number of students who are kind of stopped out there, and we think we would be able to get those students to be able to finish. But thank you for the question.
Other questions for Megan? Trish, you still have your hand up. Questions? Hearing none. Oh, yes, Barbara.
Sorry, I was just going to remark that that's exactly the kind of thing that the evaluation ought to focus on and give us some information about. So as a pilot, this is the kind of data that we need and the kind of impact that we need to take a look at. So thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, let me read the resolution. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the July 14th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Applied College Studies, parens 90 credit, close parens, at the University of Maine at Machias, as approved as a 90-hour pilot program with enrollment limited to adult degree learners, as to be approved by the BOT and with regular reviews by the board of the systems evaluation of the pilot. May I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Beth, would you please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
Trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Kemmler.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is a new academic program proposal, Bachelor of Science in Applied Business Management, parens 90 credit, close parens, at University of Maine, Fort Kent. Dr. Hadeen.
Well, good morning. Thank you. UMFK is proposing a 90 credit Bachelor of Science in Applied Business Management. This is an online pathway for adult learners and to fulfill workforce demands for skilled business management professionals. The 90 credit program is a combination of 36 general ed credits and 54 business credits. We're well prepared to offer this degree. The business program currently has an online adult completion program. Thank you.
Any questions for Deb? Seeing none, let me read the text of the resolution. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the July 14th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Science in Applied Business Management, parens 90 credit, close parens, at the University of Maine at Fort Kent, as approved as a 90-hour pilot program with enrollment limited to adult degree learners, as to be approved by the BOT and with regular reviews by the board of the systems evaluation of the pilot. May I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Second, now that I'm off mute.
Okay, moved and seconded. Is there any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, Beth, would you please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates.
Yes.
Trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Kemmler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And the chair will exercise its discretion. We are quite a bit ahead of the agenda. Let's take a 10-minute break to stretch and refill water bottles and things, and we will resume at 10:32. Thank you.
Hey, David.
Yes.
I'm going to say a quick word about this next one before we go to Kathy, if that's all right.
No, absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, good morning again. It is 10:32, and let us reconvene at the Academic and Student Affairs Committee meeting. The next agenda item is tab 9, New Academic Program Proposal, Master of Education, University of Maine, Farmington, and Jeff St. John would like to introduce this program with Kathy.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon. I just wanted to brag about Provost Yardley for a minute because she won't do it for herself. The trustees have frequently expressed the importance of collaboration, especially in areas where we already offer programs at multiple universities in the same academic field. This is true in nursing, and it's especially true in education. Kathy came to the Provost Council, the CAOC, on multiple occasions to bring this concept forward. For trustees who maybe haven't read the fine grain on the proposal, what Farmington and Provost Yardley have done here is to craft a program that competes with schools outside of our system and complements similar programs inside our system. So it's the best of both strategic approaches to developing a new program in education. She's found a niche, did so in a way that was highly collaborative, even in an environment where we are continuously asking our provosts and faculty to be collaborative, and also is an opportunity to go out and grab some enrollment from places that it might go to otherwise. So I wanted to just share that by way of background and to thank Kathy for her work on this, and then turn it back over to Trustee McMahon. Thank you, David.
Thanks, yeah. Kathy, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thanks for those kind words, Jeff. I'm very happy to bring forward a new Master of Education program offered by the University of Maine at Farmington. So this new degree aligns with UMF's mission and expertise in education, and it will contribute to statewide efforts to retain teachers, create alternate pathways to certification, develop educational leaders, and ultimately strengthen PK-12 schools. This program will also generate new and sustainable revenue streams that will contribute to the fiscal health of the university. Critically, we can offer this program using existing resources and without duplicating any existing programs within the University of Maine system. So our graduate programs have seen remarkable growth since 2019. We have more than doubled enrollment and recently graduated 82 students with master's degrees. And over time, we've developed a portfolio of highly specialized graduate programs that serve school administrators, early childhood educators, special educators, and math educators. This means that we're currently missing a vast segment of Maine's educator population, the majority of classroom teachers who may want to advance their practice without being so specialized. This is a unique selling proposition in an untapped market for us. So the new master's degrees is a 30-credit program with a 12-credit Common Core. And then there are two different tracks. One track is for those who may be seeking secondary certification, because we know there are shortages in the state of Maine of secondary teachers. And the other track builds upon our certificate programs. And so students would take 15 credits of courses within a particular certificate, or certificates perhaps offered by other university campuses, such as through our collaborative Masters of IT program. We have a variety of instructional technology certificates that could go into this program. The unique piece is that a student may have started a certificate program and completed the certificate, and then they may decide to go back for their master's. They can take that certificate and stack it right into the master's degree. Or they can start from scratch and incorporate an area of expertise into the master's in addition to their core courses. The core of the program will be offered entirely online, so it's accessible to anybody across the state. And then within the options, some of our certificate programs are offered completely online. Others have a very low residency component, up to 3 Saturdays on campus. And so we've tried to make this very, very accessible for individuals. Our target audience is UMF graduates. Right now, a lot of our students don't think there's a pathway to a master's degree because they see our Ed Leadership program only for those wanting to be building administrators. And so we believe that this will be very attractive to them. The other growing population that we're working with is the degree completers. And so most of the students enrolled in degree completion programs at UMF are ed techs, and they're pursuing the coursework that's necessary in order to get their certification. For some, they've been picking up coursework along the line, so they actually don't have a lot of time with us. We are hoping to bring them along and encourage them to continue with their masters so that they have more depth in terms of teacher inquiry and leadership, and also an area of emphasis that they could pursue. So even just this past year of our degree completers, we've had 4 students enroll in our master's in special ed and 2 in our counseling psychology. So we believe that truly is something that could occur. We had wonderful conversations with our colleagues at USM, UMaine, and University of Maine at Augusta in terms of opportunities for collaboration. And we believe that our greatest areas would be within the secondary education pathway, sharing methods courses, perhaps the diversity class, courses in common to all of us so that we can cycle them and best use our resources. So in terms of infrastructure, we believe we can deliver this program with our current faculty or adjuncts who we typically hire for some of our courses in graduate education anyway. We have a fabulous graduate office and admissions folks, and we have no new need for any kind of equipment or facilities. So as Jeff mentioned, we believe there's market advantage compared to private colleges, and our price point is much less than any of the private institutions. So in sum, we believe this is a strategic, low-cost investment that will significantly grow our graduate enrollment and revenue. Its distinctive design avoids duplication, leverages UMF's core strengths, and directly addresses the critical needs of Maine's educators and schools. thank you for considering this proposal.
Questions of Kathy? Barbara?
Could you explain what other of our universities offer a master's in education, and how this would incrementally grow your program, and how it would interact with others if they are similar to what you're offering? I just don't know. Thank you.
Sure. So USM offers the ETAP program, and it is fully on campus. And so that is one of the distinctions where our program would be an online program. And however, they are open to collaborating for the secondary track that we have. I think the most common piece is some of the programs lead to secondary licensure. So University of Maine has a Master's of Arts in Teaching for secondary education. Our program offers multiple tracks. So we're not just trying to attract those interested in secondary education. We have this whole other pathway for people who may want to be teacher leaders, right? That I think is a distinction in terms of it's not ed leadership. It's not just leading to secondary certification. It's for those folks who really want to provide leadership in their schools, but not as building administrators. So maybe you want to have expertise in ESOL. So we have a certificate in ESOL, English for Speakers of Other Languages. Or many folks are very interested in nature-based education. They could become teacher leaders in nature-based education as part of their degree programs and bring that strength to their schools. That's a huge differentiator. A final differentiator in UMF's program is the focus on teacher inquiry without having to do a formal research program. So in our Masters of Ed Leadership, students have to complete IRB proposals, a formal design and project that they present. In this new Masters of Education, it's more general, and teachers are looking for problems of practice in their classroom that they can study and do active research in their classrooms, but they would not be presenting that necessarily beyond their school. And so those are the differentiators in terms of the teacher inquiry piece, the multiple pathways so you can become an expert in a particular area within the general masters. No other University of Maine system program offers that.
Just curious, this is an intriguing proposal. Do teachers with masters automatically go into a higher pay range?
In most schools, they do get a bump with a master's degree. And a lot of teacher leadership roles also are looking for teachers with a master's degree. So there's opportunity for growth, both in salary and opportunity.
Great.
Other questions of Kathy? Seeing none, let me read the text of the proposed resolution. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the July 14, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Masters of Education at the University of Maine at Farmington. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Beth, will you take the roll, please?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Kemmler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda, tab 10, is informational, Jefferson John and common calendar.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon. So we bring forward for your information, trustees, the 2029-30 and 2030-31 academic calendars, fall and spring. I can see from the frown on Trustee Martin's face, why are we talking about calendars 5 years out? Good question, Trustee Martin. Here is why. For purposes of external program reviews, planning for major academic conferences, research trips and expeditions, or research activity on site, the universities do plan out 5 years or more in various areas of their operations. There are probably contracts that Vice Chancellor Lowe and Gretchen Catlin and others are working on right now for 2030, 31 that I don't even know about, but we do work that far out. So it's important for us to bring you the calendars. These calendars meet the board's requirement of unified start and end dates for the terms, unity of holidays across the terms. And I'm pleased to add that beyond the fall and spring calendars, we've also worked with the registrars for summer and winter session calendars across the system. We have identified for future calendars earliest possible start date, latest possible end date for summer, and the same for winter term. So the universities are able to offer maximally their programs within summer and winter in an alignment of start and end dates without clipping the wings of the different lengths of sessions, numbers, and types of sessions that individual universities choose to offer. So we are moving toward a stronger commonality of the way we build our calendar, and these latest calendars are an example of that. I need to thank the registrars for their work on this calendar, along with Jamie Ballinger and Heather Ball in my office, who did all the work. I did none of it. So trustees, happy to answer any questions you may have about these calendars.
Barbara.
We have a policy being in the process of being adopted with language changes to it about academic calendars. And I don't have it in front of me, but I'm presuming, Jeff, there's no issue with regard to what you're doing here and the new form of the policy statement.
No, thank you, Trustee Alexander, for noting that. You trustees may recall or may not. So the work that the policy subcommittee group has done, one of the areas that we've worked on is this calendar build process. The language, and I've shared this with the presidents, it's not new to them. We had old language in there from many years ago saying the presidents will build the calendars working with their campuses. That was prior to the development of aligned calendars. We updated it to reflect that I'm responsible ultimately for bringing you the future year calendars in accordance with what we're doing today. So no conflict, Trustee Alexander, for your work.
Other questions of Jeff? That's an informational item only. So that the next item is criminal justice collaboration update. Jeff.
Thank you. Following the board's approval last fall of the criminal justice undergraduate program in Orono, as part of the approval, the trustees asked for an update on collaborations between Orono and Presque Isle at a future board meeting. And we are at that, committee meeting, and we are at that committee meeting today. I'm pleased to say that Senior Associate Provost Gabe Paquette at Orono and Provost Margison at UMPI engaged in a series of meetings earlier this spring to work out opportunities for concrete and future collaboration between the two criminal justice programs. Provost Paquette is on a long scheduled and much deserved vacation right now, but I'm happy to say that Dean Walsh from UMA Machias has stepped in to speak for him, and Provost Margison is here as well. So I'm happy to turn it over to them to summarize for trustees the conversations that have been had between Orono and Presque Isle. And Alana and Megan, thank you, and I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Jeff. So as you can see in your materials, we have a collaboration update that Senior Associate Provost Paquette and Provost Margison put together. And then also a flyer directed to students. As you can see, there are criminal justice courses specific to each institution being offered in fall 2025. And these are in online modalities, both synchronous and asynchronous. And they will be advertised. They are being advertised to students on both campuses. And there are conversations with advisors using this digital flyer as well to support advising and to support those students. And then there's, so just so you're aware, there's the courses involved are Canadian criminal justice, juvenile justice and delinquency, survey of criminal justice, and law and society. And then there's also an FAQ as part of that flyer that shows students how to register for a course at a different campus. We anticipate from the UMaine side that may be a little more unusual to them and their advisors. So that's all the reason this is so important. In addition to that flyer, there will be ongoing communication between the programs and the schools to identify future collaborations, future courses that may be offered across campuses, or excuse me, advertised to students across campuses. And participating in those meetings will be the Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, or her designee from the University of Maine, the Department of Sociology Chair from the University of Maine, the Criminal Justice Program Advisor from UMPI, and the Provost or designee from UMPI. Provost Margison, did you want to add anything to that?
Thank you, Megan. No, I think you covered all of the points of the collaboration. We're pleased to have these courses identified that will count at each institution, and look forward to being able to review regularly how the collaboration is working and what further opportunities that there are for additional courses. The one thing I will add is that UMPI remains open to HyFlex as a modality for offering some courses. So in addition to those online asynchronous modalities that we're open to, should there down the road be opportunities to offer an additional modality such as HyFlex for that distance education component, we are open to that as well.
Lisa, go ahead.
Yes, so many of you may remember myself as the program advisor of criminal justice was the one who in December, when you were looking at this, was really saying that I think there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration that hasn't happened. So first, I just want to thank specifically trustees Alexander and Cates. I believe at that December ASA, it was really you two that said there should be a report about this collaboration. So though at the time, Vice Chancellor St. John mentioned that former Provost Volin was heroic in bringing this forward, I would say that Trustee Alexander and Cates were heroic because it finally got the two campuses talking about how can we work together. So I'm quite happy about that. I would also say that I think that not just HyFlex, all of the criminal justice courses at UMPI, if they are live on campus, are also available for HyFlex. That's a commitment that myself and my colleague have made. But I would say I think there's opportunity for cross-linking here that is still not being investigated. I think there are courses at both institutions that could just count for both institutions, not just what you see in front of you as notification to students of some opportunities. I think there's more overlap. You will also note that the UMaine courses we have identified as specific courses equivalencies at our campus and our program. And the other way, at least for the fall courses, they are potential electives. I would like to see some more collaboration where it's really a Venn diagram, that there is some overlap of courses that we would no longer schedule at our own campus because we know it's going to be scheduled at the other one to save in resources for both sides. So that's what I'm looking forward to happening going forward. Thank you.
Can I respond to that, Trustee McMahon?
Sure.
First, to thank Lisa for those comments, and also to say all credit to Gabe and Alana and Megan, but this report, Lisa, is today is in no way intended to be a checking of the box. I am convinced that conversations will continue under current leadership in the Provost's office in UMPI and leadership in the provost office in Orono as well. And so I thank and second you for your and for your comments and second them. And I would also say that this isn't the end of the road as far as potential structured collaboration between the two programs. I think that's fair to say.
Thanks, yeah. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the next agenda item is a draft work plan, Jeff.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon. We bring forward a draft of the proposed 2025-26 work plan for this committee. We bring it to you in June so that if trustees have suggestions or requests for changes, we can bring it back in August and still have it finalized in advance of the beginning of the fall semester. With that, I'm happy to turn to my colleague, Jamie Ballinger, who can answer specific questions about reports we've swapped in, swapped out, or moved based on trustee feedback over the course of the previous year, or just contingent circumstances, new developments, new initiatives, and the like. Jamie, anything you'd like to say about the draft work plan?
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, as Jeff said, this is a draft. It will be coming back to you again in a finalized version. So today is just to initiate the discussion about this draft. It largely mirrors what you have seen in the past with a couple of changes. The first change that you'll notice is we have built in a number of times over the course of the year where we will be updating the committee on 90 credit degree programs. That would be early in the year and then again later in the year, so that you have lots of touch points there. The second piece is we've highlighted a number of our reports that we deliver to the committee over the course of the year. Those reports are all aligned to the strategic plan so that we give you updates on strategic plan initiatives over the course of the year. We would like for everyone to consider perhaps some changes to those reports so that they are more timely or meeting the needs of the committee a little bit better. So that's part of our discussion today. The other piece of the discussion is deciding if perhaps some of those reports would be better served in every other year format as opposed to a yearly format. It's entirely up to the committee as to what they wish to do. Again, we will be bringing this back to you in a finalized version after you've had a chance to discuss and think about what changes you might like to make.
Questions or comments? Yes, Barbara.
It would be two preliminary comments, and I appreciate the option to provide comments. One is, in light of our strategic plan's emphasis on unified accreditation and cooperation and collaboration, I really think the multi-university program update should remain annual. But that's just my opinion initially. And then the other thing, it would be helpful to identify the specific strategic plan related performance and objectives that are related to our committee, and just note where those are on this annual plan. That would be helpful for me to just keep track of those two things. Thank you.
We can do both of those things, Trustee Alexander. We're happy to. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I see that, Jamie, you have a comment, direct admit update if needed. Does that mean we're taking emphasis off the direct admit program?
No, it's just whether the committee would like to have an exclusive update for direct admit or whether we should incorporate that with one of the other reports we deliver over the course of the year.
We have a couple of different ways that we can slice the pie, David. So of course we have the Transfer Main program, we have direct admit, we have early college, we have a number of other enrollment initiatives. So we're just interested in trustee feedback about the best way to receive updates about things that are enrollment and transfer related. They can be parceled out and made very specific, They can be grouped under those two headings or under the same heading if trustees would like. And it's just a matter of when you would like the reporting, size of report, and how much time you would like to have to comment on any particular facet of those reports.
Feedback from the trustees? Emily?
I feel like on direct admit specifically, I feel like that can be incorporated into enrollment report backs generally. I think that is a category of enrollment for us, and I think it would be better understood and better appreciated alongside the rest of the enrollment updates. I think to pull it out would lose its context. So that's my gut reaction on that, for what it's worth.
And I agree with that too.
Thank you both.
Other comment? Jamie and Jeff, do you have adequate feedback or do you need more?
No, we do. Thank you, David. We'll make the updates and share the proposed final with you in advance of the next of August ASA, and then unless we get other feedback from the trustees, we'll put it on the agenda as proposed final for that meeting.
Okay. So the next item is we're going to move into executive session, and when we come out of executive session, there'll be just one brief motion. So could I have a motion for the meeting to go into an executive session under the provision of 1 MRSA section 4056A to discuss the evaluation of personnel and the consideration and discussion of appointments, evaluations, employments, and duties?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, could you please take the roll, Beth?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Kemmler.
Yes.
We'll move you into executive session.
welcome back. We just have one item, off-cycle tenure request, University of Maine, Fort Kent, President Adine.
What am I supposed to say? I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm supposed to say right now, how public I'm supposed to be with any information. Jeff, could you step in and help me, please?
I think we would simply say that we are prepared to seek the board's approval for a higher off-cycle at the level of professor at the University of Maine at Fort Kent. And unless there are any other trustee comments, Trustee McMahon, I would recommend moving to the motion.
Any comments from trustees? If not, I'll read the motion that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the July 14th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the tenure in the Department of Forestry at the University of Maine at Fort Kent, effective September 1, 2025. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion of the motion? If not, Beth, could you please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Kemmler.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. And thank you to all trustees on the call and staff as well. We've had an excellent meeting, great discussion, and I declare